time sure does fly. Friday marks 5 years since Hurricane Ike slammed ashore here into southeast Texas.
Now, Ike came ashore as a Category 2 storm, but it had a storm surge that ripped apart the Gulf Coast, including Bolivar and Galveston. Our chief meteorologist, Frank Billingsley, is joining us now with more on this.
Yeah, that was an absolute 22-foot storm surge that moved through.
That's right.
Cat 4, Cat 5. It does seem like it just was yesterday, doesn't it? I'm telling you, Galveston, though, is still rebuilding today. Tonight, we're hearing from some residents of the island who still are not back in their homes. Local 2's Phil Archer is live in Galveston with the story. Phil.
Well, Frank, as you know, in the last 5 years, Galveston has been reborn. The city, the port, the medical school have been rebuilt, and the tourists are back now. But even now, 5 years since Ike, some residents are still waiting to come home.
That's where I was born and raised.
Before Ike, Rosalind Jackson lived in a public housing complex in Galveston. But when the storm roared ashore 5 years ago, 80% of the buildings on the island were flooded. 569 public housing units were destroyed. Whole complexes like Magnolia Homes were bulldozed. Miss Jackson's apartment was one of those lost, and since then, she's been living on the mainland in Hitchcock, still waiting to go home.
It's sad. It's really sad, and I feel real bad because home is where we was once there. It was a place that I wanted to be with my family.
Rebuilding public housing became a political hot button for opponents who argued large complexes became incubators for poverty and crime. The city election in 2012 was something of a referendum.
I still believe the voucher system is going to be the best way to go.
Mayor Lewis Rosen and several council members won election promising to fight against rebuilding. But then last spring, the Texas General Land Office threatened to withhold more than $100 million in disaster relief funds if the city didn't begin construction of the units it had committed to rebuild. The mayor and council got on board.
The Galveston Housing Authority is going to break ground hopefully November 15th on Cedar Terrace, the first development. And then I think everybody can take a deep breath and see that the city is coming together.
Rosalind Jackson says she and 200 others have already signed up for new homes.
I'm going home. I already told them.
2 public housing projects are now scheduled for construction. Galveston still has about 10,000 fewer residents than it did before the storm. Coming up at 6, we'll tell you how city leaders are still pushing for the controversial Ike Dike. Reporting live in Galveston, I'm Phil Archer, KPRC Local 2.